In this session, we will look at research topic selection, which is the first step you take when you are planning to write an essay or a research paper. Selecting a topic is an important step because it will influence the process and the result of your writing. We will begin with some general principles of research topic selection and then move on to the steps that are usually taken when writers select their research topics. Finally, we will introduce some additional tips on research topic selection and have some practice with topic selection. Selecting a topic is important because it is related to how much energy you're going to devote into this task. This is why, in determining what kind of topic to choose, you would ask yourself how interested you are and how interesting it will be to your readers. Interest comes from your past experience, and it comes from the amount of time that you have spent with a research subject. Interest will also help you devote more time and energy to the task of writing. In order to find something interesting, you also need to make sure that the topic is meaningful to you and to other people. Meaningful in the sense that it would have some kind of academic appeal to you and to other people. Academic appeal means that your discussion will contribute something new to people's understanding of a subject or to the solution of a theoretical or practical problem. Finally, there are topics that are interesting and meaningful, but not feasible for you because of the constraints of time, energy, or financial resources available to you. The topic has to be manageable in the sense that you will be able to complete the task with the time and energy available to you. Those are the three fundamental considerations you should have when you are choosing a topic. Different people may have different ways to generate and select their research topics. But here are the few steps that students are often advised to take. Step 1. Brainstorm to get research topic ideas. Ask yourself what you already know about a topic that might interest you and your readers. Can you find enough reading materials or someone who is an expert on the topic? Is there any theory related to the topic? Are you able to approach the topic from different perspectives? Do people have different opinions on the issues involved? Step 2. Read general background information. You can start from encyclopedias or Wikipedia, or from textbooks. You can also browse through the titles and abstracts of articles in the academic journals of a specific subject to get an overall picture of the subject concerned and see what are the major topics involved, what achievements have been made in the field, and what problems or puzzles still remain. Based on this understanding, you may be able to formulate a few broad topics to work on. Step 3. Focus in on your topic. To narrow down the scope of your research topic, you can try one of the following approaches. First, you can choose among several approaches to examine a research topic. For example, when talking about cloning, you can examine the theories surrounding the high rate of failures in animal cloning. There are technical aspects, there are practical aspects, there are ethical aspects, But you are not concerned with all these aspects. You are only concerned with the theoretical aspects. And this will help you to narrow down the topic. Furthermore, you may still think that the topic is too broad. You can take a step further by focusing on a sub-issue or a sub-area. Instead of looking at the overall theoretical analysis of human cloning, for example, you can look at government regulation of cloning. You can compare different government regulations from different countries and analyze how they are influenced by the country's economic situations, cultural situations, scientific development, and so on and so forth. In this way, you concentrate on a specific aspect or a sub-area of your topic. Then you say, this is still too broad because this kind of technology has lasted for dozens of years. In this case, you can just concentrate on one specific period of time. On the topic of genetics, you can make a contrast between the public attitudes in the 1950s and those in the 1990s. And this would provide further focus. Or you may want to focus on population group. You can narrow down the topic by limiting the subjects you are studying, by limiting their age, sex, race, occupation, species, or ethnic groups. For example, on the topic of genetics, you can examine specific traits as they affect women over 40 years of age. So that's a very specific, narrow group of people. Finally, you can bring geographical location into consideration. You can decide that you are not looking at things globally. You are looking at only two countries or two areas within one country. That gives further focus to your topic. Again, for the topic of cloning, you can investigate cloning practices in Europe or the Middle East. Step 4. Make a list of useful keywords. As you read the background materials on a topic, note down the words and expressions that occur frequently, especially those that are similar in meaning. Also, note down the words and expressions that have broader and narrower meanings than the keywords that you have chosen. Each of the keywords may represent an aspect of the topic that may be worth exploring. You can pause the video to read the following paragraph. This is a text that introduces a type of energy-saving dryer called ultrasonic dryer. The word dryer is repeated twice, and the word it in the second sentence also refers to dryer. Since the text is talking about ultrasonic energy-saving technology, you can easily notice such keywords as ultrasonic, energy, electricity, voltage, vibrate, high frequency. Step 5. Define your topic as a focused research question. Once you have found a topic of interest that can be expressed in the form of a word or a phrase, you can first ask a general question about it. And then, based on what you know and what you have read about the topic, you can narrow down the scope and ask a more focused research question. For example, if you want to talk about the relationship between wages and gender, you may raise the general question, is there a wage gap between men and women? And then you can make it more focused by asking, do women CEOs make as much as their male counterparts? Step 6, formulate a thesis statement. A thesis statement is an answer to your focused research question. If you have a yes-no question, you will provide an affirmative or negative answer. If it is a WH question, you will address the question word directly. For example, your thesis statement could be, women CEOs do not make as much as their male counterparts. Formulating and selecting research topics can be a difficult task. But here are a few tips that may make it easier for you. First, you can ask yourself a number of questions. For the why question, you can ask, why did I choose the topic? What interests me about it? Do I have an opinion about the issues involved? For the who question, you can ask, who are the information providers on this topic? Who might publish information about it? Who is affected by the topic? Do I know of any organizations or institutions that are affiliated with the topic? For the what question, you can ask, what are the major questions for this topic? Is there a debate about the topic? Are there a range of issues and viewpoints to consider? For the where question, you can ask, is this topic important at the local, national, or international level? Are there specific places affected by the topic? Finally, for the when question, you can ask, when is or when was this topic important? Is it a current event or a historical issue? Do I want to compare my topic by time periods? When we get all these aspects into consideration, hopefully we can have some more focused topic for discussion. When selecting research topics, make sure you want to avoid those that may be hard to deal with. First, it can pose difficulties if the topics are too locally confined. For example, there used to be a research about whether universities should install air conditioners for their students in the dorms. This can be an interesting topic because it directly concerns students' everyday life. But it is a very, very specific and local issue, and especially when we consider writing in English. Well, writing in English would require your reading of the materials that are written in English. It would be difficult to find English materials that deal with whether your particular university should install air conditioners for its students. If you can't find anything to read about the issue, it will be difficult for you to write an essay on the issue. And also, if a topic is too locally confined, your writing may not be interesting to other people. Others might say, why should we care about whether your university should install air conditioners for your students? Second, events that are too recent may be very hard to discuss. For example, if you want to talk about events that happened yesterday or last week, it will be hard to find enough materials, especially materials from academic publications. Thirdly, if the topic is too broadly interdisciplinary, in other words, if the topic itself is broad and also it involves knowledge from different disciplines, it will be difficult to handle. Here is one example. How can the environment contribute to the culture, politics, and society of the Western states? It concerns the environment, it concerns culture, it concerns politics, and it concerns society. That's too many things. You cannot deal with all these things in one essay or even in one book. Finally, if a topic concerns something that is too popular, for example, a pop star, especially a newly emerged pop star, it may be hard to write anything serious about it because you may only find materials in popular media like magazines and newspapers. You cannot find any serious discussions about it in academic journals. Then it will be hard to write anything on such a topic. Lastly, let's look at a list of topics that were initially proposed by some of our students for their research papers. Using the principles that we have introduced in this session, you can look at each of them and see which ones you like best and which you think are not workable and need narrowing or other modifications. To recap, in this session, we have learned that a suitable research topic should be interesting, meaningful, and manageable. The actual process of research topic selection usually begins with brainstorming and extensive reading. After arriving at a general topic of discussion, writers will narrow the scope and bring more focus to the topic. Then they will turn it into a more specific question and formulate a thesis as an answer to the question. By this time, they will be ready to explore deeper into the topic and prepare for the next stage of writing. Thank you for your attention.